The moment her father drove away and left her standing beside the dusty road with 2 bags and nowhere to go, Maricela understood something that shattered her deeper than abandonment itself. This wasn't anger. This wasn't punishment. This was a lesson they wanted her to learn through loneliness. Her chest tightened as the car disappeared beyond the curve, leaving only silence and the warm hum of late morning air. Her hands trembled, not from weakness, but from disbelief. Her own family had decided she needed to suffer to understand the consequences of choosing her own path. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected compassion, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Midnight Tales. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Maricela stood alone beneath the bright daylight, the sun hanging high in a sky that felt far too big. The small country house behind her wasn't hers anymore. It never truly had been. Her parents had made that clear when she refused to marry the wealthy man they had chosen for her. They said she was stubborn, ungrateful, naive. They said life would break her pride eventually, and when it did, she would come crawling back, ready to accept their decisions without question. She had tried to explain that she wanted to live for herself, to build something honest, something earned, not handed to her like a transaction. But her words had fallen into ears that only heard obedience. Now she had nothing but 2 bags, a fading sense of belonging, and a road that stretched endlessly forward. Hours passed. The sunlight softened, and exhaustion crept into her bones. She had nowhere to go. No friends nearby. No savings that could last long. Her family had ensured that too. They had cut her off completely, confident that desperation would force her to return and apologize. She sat on the edge of the road, hugging her knees, fighting the tears that threatened to spill. She wasn't just abandoned. She was erased. That was when she heard the faint sound of footsteps approaching from behind. She turned, expecting nothing, and saw a man carrying a small boy on his shoulders. The boy laughed freely, pointing at something in the trees, his joy untouched by the heaviness of the world. The man's face was calm but tired, the kind of tired that came from responsibility, not defeat. His name was Corvin Hale. He lived in the modest wooden cabin nearby, raising his 5-year-old son, Orion, alone since his wife had passed away 2 years earlier. Loss had carved quiet strength into Corvin's soul, but it had never hardened him. He noticed Maricela immediately, not just because she was sitting alone, but because of the way she held herself, as if trying not to break in front of the open sky. He didn't ask questions at first. He simply offered her water. The gesture was small, ordinary, but to Maricela, it felt like the first kindness she had received since her world collapsed. Days passed slowly after that. Corvin didn't pry into her story, but he gave her a temporary place to stay in the small guest room of his cabin. It wasn't luxury. It wasn't even comfortable by most standards. But it was safe. And safety, she realized, was more valuable than comfort. She began helping around the house, cooking simple meals, cleaning, and watching Orion when Corvin worked repairing machinery in town. The boy grew attached to her quickly, drawn to her gentle presence. His laughter filled spaces in her heart she thought were permanently empty. For the first time since her family abandoned her, she felt useful. Not as an obligation, not as a possession, but as a person. Still, fear lingered. She knew her family believed she would fail, that she would beg to return. Weeks turned into months. Maricela found small work at a local shop. She saved every coin she could. She began to stand taller, speak with quiet confidence, and reclaim pieces of herself that had been taken. Then one morning, everything changed. A black luxury car pulled up in front of Corvin's cabin. Her father stepped out. His expression carried the same cold certainty she remembered. He had come to collect proof of her failure. He expected to find her broken, begging, desperate. Instead, he found her standing beside Corvin and Orion, dressed simply but with dignity in her posture. He spoke of forgiveness, but his tone held no warmth. Only control. He offered to take her back, but only if she accepted the life they had chosen for her. He believed she had learned her lesson. But he didn't understand something important. She had learned a lesson. Just not the one he intended. Before she could answer, Corvin stepped forward. His voice was calm, steady, and filled with quiet conviction. He didn't speak loudly. He didn't argue. But his words carried the weight of truth. He said that no one deserved to be abandoned to prove obedience. That strength wasn't built through cruelty. That family wasn't defined by control, but by presence. He said Maricela wasn't weak. She was brave. Her father stood frozen, unable to respond. Because in that moment, the man he had dismissed as insignificant had done something powerful. He had given Maricela something her own family never had. Respect. Her father realized she wasn't coming back. Not because she was stubborn, but because she had finally found where she belonged. Corvin never asked for anything in return. He never demanded loyalty or gratitude. He simply stood beside her, offering support without ownership. And that changed everything. Maricela chose to stay, not because she had nowhere else to go, but because she wanted to. Over time, she built a life filled with honest work, shared meals, and quiet mornings filled with sunlight and peace. She became part of Orion's world, someone he trusted, someone he loved. She wasn't rescued, she was seen. Her family watched from a distance, confused and unsettled. They had expected her to fail. Instead, she had flourished. Not through wealth, not through power, but through kindness. And Corvin, the single father they had underestimated, had answered their cruelty with compassion so powerful that it rewrote her destiny. Sometimes, the people who try to break us only end up showing us where we truly belong. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and share it with someone who believes in kindness and second chances. Your support helps keep these meaningful stories alive. And before this story ends, comment, "Kindness heals," if you believe one act of compassion can change someone's entire life. Because on that bright, ordinary day when Maricela was abandoned beneath the open sky, she thought she had lost everything. But in truth, she had just found the beginning of her real family.